Let me ask you something. Have you ever copied and pasted same block of code across multiple files, thinking that you will clean it up later as part of code refactoring? And yes, we have all been there and we have all done it. But here's the thing, those duplicate blocks of code are silent bugs just waiting to happen. Welcome to another video on object-oriented programming using C#, and the topic for today is DRY design principle, short for don't repeat yourself. DRY is a core design principle in software engineering that says every piece of knowledge must have a single, unambiguous, authoritative representation within a system, which means don't repeat logic, don't duplicate your data, keep them clean and keep them centralized. This principle is not just about reducing lines of code by having them centralized. It's about reducing the maintenance pain in having to change in 10 different places and increasing clarity. Now let's dive deeper into what happens when we violate DRY design principle. Here's what the DRY principle really means. Every piece of knowledge must have a single, unambiguous, authoritative representation within a system. That's the definition, but in simple terms, if your logic lives in more than one place, your system is lying to itself. Imagine you have got some tax calculation logic copied into 3 different classes. Now, what happens when your tax rules change? You update one, forget the second, miss the third. That's a maintenance disaster waiting to happen. DRY is about centralizing logic. So updates happen once, bugs stay contained, and your code base stays honest. In short, duplication is equal to risk, and DRY code addresses the risk with reliability. Let's now look at a classic example of violating the DRY principle in C#, and then we will look at a code which applies DRY principle, and let's see what value it adds to the code base. Let's get started. Now let's understand this better with a real-world analogy. Imagine you're sending out 100 letters, but instead of using a stamp with your address on it, you write your name, street, city, and zip code by hand on every single envelope. It is tedious, you'll probably make a mistake, and it's a massive waste of time. That's exactly what repetitive code feels like in a project. Every time you write the same logic in multiple places, you're making your code harder to maintain, easier to break, and painful to update. DRY helps you replace that handwritten with stamp, clean. DRY principle helps you replace that handwriting with a stamp, clean, consistent, and effortless. So now let's look at what this violation looks like in the form of a C# code before we go ahead and apply DRY principle onto it. Let's get started. Alright, let's look at what code looks like before applying the DRY principle. Here we have a class called notification service. Its job is to send different types of email notifications to customers for order confirmations, shipping updates, and feedback requests. Sounds simple, right? But look closer. In each of these methods, whether it is send order confirmation, send shipping update, or send feedback request, in each of these methods, the exact same steps are being repeated. Connecting to SMTP server, sending an email, logging the message, and disconnecting. The only thing that actually changes is the message content that is being sent. This is a classic violation of DRY principle. We are repeating the same logic over and over. It might be harmless now, but it creates multiple pain points for maintenance. What if tomorrow we want to change how we log the message or how we connect to the SMTP server? We will have to do it in all of these 3 places. And guess what? It's very easy to forget one and introduce a new bug. So even though the code runs fine, it is bloated, harder to maintain, and violates one of the core principles of clean software design. This is where the DRY principle steps in and helps us to refactor this mess into something much cleaner. Now let's see how we can clean up this messy, repetitive code using the DRY principle. This is the refactored version of our notification service, and as you can already tell, it's a lot more elegant. Instead of repeating the same email sending logic in every method, we have centralized that logic into a private method called sendEmail. This method takes two parameters, recipient and subject. Now all the three methods, send order confirmation, send shipping update, and send feedback request, simply call the centralized method sendEmail. Look how clean and focused these methods are now. Each one clearly describes what it does and not how it does it. The implementation details like connecting to SMTP server, sending the message, and logging are all tucked away safely in one centralized place. And here's the magic. The send email method handles everything behind the scenes. So now, if you ever need to switch to a new SMTP provider, add error handling, or update the logging mechanism, you only have to do it once right here in sendEmail. Let us understand what are the benefits that Dry principle offers to us. It offers centralized logic, easier to maintain, cleaner and shorter methods, less chances of introducing bugs. This is true power of the Dry principle. By extracting repetitive logic, we make our code more maintainable, more readable, and less prone to human error because it is in a centralized place and the change has to be done in just one place. This kind of thinking is what separates beginner level code from a professional. Now that we have seen how powerful the Dry principle can be, let's walk through some best practices to apply it effectively in real world C# projects. Extract repeated logic into methods. Whenever you find yourself writing the same block of code more than once, that's your cue. Extract it into reusable method. This is the simplest and most direct way to eliminate repetition. Use inheritance or interfaces wherever appropriate. If you have similar functionality across multiple classes, consider using inheritance so that you can shift those common methods in a centralized place, or use interfaces to define and share common behavior, especially in object-oriented architectures. Favor composition to reuse logic. Composition is more flexible than inheritance. Instead of creating rigid classes, you can compose your classes from reusable components, keeping your codebase modular and dry. Centralize constants and configuration. Magic strings and duplicate values scattered across files. Move them into constants class or a configuration file. That way, changes happen in one place and not everywhere. Chances of introducing bugs reduces. Use helper and utility classes. For shared logic that doesn't belong to a specific domain object, create utility or helper classes. These act as central hubs for functionality that's reused across your entire app. By following these best practices, you will not only keep your code dry, you will keep it cleaner, smarter, and easier to maintain. Remember, dry is not just a rule, it's a mindset. So there you have it, the Dry principle in action. What started as repetitive, fragile code is now clean, maintainable, and scalable. Just by applying one simple rule, do not repeat yourself. As developers, our job isn't just to make things work, it's to make them work well, last longer, adapt easily, and endure forever. And Dry is a big step forward in writing professional grade software. Thank you for watching our video, and do subscribe our channel for more such videos, and thank you very much for your support.